Why is it that some people walk into a room and instantly command respect, while others are barely noticed? Respect isn't earned through loud voices or lofty titles. It's built in the quiet, unseen moments. How you carry yourself, how you respond when no one's watching, and the choices you make when it's hardest to stay grounded. The Stoics understood this. You can't control how others see you, but you can control who you are. And often, the smallest shifts lead to the greatest changes. In this video, we're diving into subtle changes, simple actions and mindset shifts that can radically alter the way people perceive and respond to you. They may seem small. Some might even feel uncomfortable at first. But they work. And over time, they transform not just how others treat you, but how you see yourself. If you've ever felt underestimated, overlooked, or unheard, this is for you. Stick around. Sometimes all it takes is one quiet change to reshape the way the world listens. 1. Never break a promise, no matter how small. What is a person without their word? In the eyes of the Stoics, your word is a reflection of your inner discipline. It's not your appearance, your followers, or your wealth that earns respect. It's your ability to mean what you say and to follow through even when it's inconvenient. But in today's world, words are tossed around like they're weightless. People make promises they have no intention of keeping, and they do it casually, almost without thinking. "I'll be there at 7, they say, and arrive at 7:30. "Let's catch up soon," they offer, and disappear. "I'm starting a new habit on Monday," they declare, then break it before the day's over. At first glance, it seems harmless. But every time you fail to follow through, no matter how small the promise, you send a subtle message. I don't take my own words seriously. And if you don't, why should anyone else? Respect doesn't collapse in one dramatic moment. It fades quietly. People stop believing you, not because they're angry, but because experience has taught them not to. They won't always confront you. They'll just stop depending on you. And when people no longer believe your words, they stop respecting your presence. I once had a friend, let's call him David, charismatic, full of life, always quick with a joke. But there was one problem. David never kept his word. He'd promised to show up, but cancel last minute. He'd say he'd call, and you'd never hear from him again. At first, people gave him the benefit of the doubt. They laughed it off. That's just David. But over time, something shifted. Friends stopped inviting him to important things. They didn't hate him. They just stopped trusting him. And trust, once lost, rarely returns. The Stoics taught that we should speak little, but mean much. In other words, don't say it unless you intend to live it. And while breaking promises erodes your reputation, the reverse is just as true. Keeping your word, even in the smallest things, builds respect faster than any performance ever could. The person who says they'll be somewhere and arrives early, the one who says, "I'll do it," and actually does. It's not flashy, but in a world full of talkers, that kind of reliability stands out. What makes this even more powerful is that it applies just as much internally. Some of the most damaging promises we break are the ones we make to ourselves. Think about how many times you've told yourself, "I'll start waking up earlier." "I'm going to get serious about my goals." "I'm done with that toxic habit." Then nothing changes. No one else may notice, but you do. And over time, those quiet failures start to eat away at your confidence. You begin to believe your own words don't matter. But when you keep your word to yourself, even in the smallest commitments, something shifts. You begin to see yourself as reliable. You stop needing motivation because you've built momentum. You don't have to convince others to respect you. They feel it in how you carry yourself. Self-respect is magnetic, and it begins with honoring your own voice. Imagine if every promise you made, big or small, was written in stone. Would you still speak so casually? Would you still offer empty reassurances or vague commitments? Or would you slow down, speak less, and mean more? True respect isn't earned through clever words or big gestures. It's built quietly, in the background, through consistency. People don't respect those who talk the most. They respect those who do what they say, every time, without needing applause. So speak with intention, follow through, and remember, real power doesn't beg to be heard. It speaks once, and that's enough. 2. Control your reactions. The silent power move. Most people think respect comes from being the loudest voice in the room, the one who talks over others, shows anger, dominates the space. But the truth is far more subtle. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to prove itself. True power is quiet, calm, and composed. It lies in the ability to control your reactions, especially when the world around you is trying to provoke one. Think about the people who command the most respect when they walk into a room. They're not the ones who explode at every inconvenience or panic when things go wrong. They're the ones who stay steady, grounded, centered. When everyone else is losing their head, they remain unmoved. That's not passivity, it's discipline. And in a chaotic world, emotional discipline is a form of dominance. The Stoics believed you cannot control what happens around you, but you can always control your response. Most people live as emotional slaves, snapping at insults, spiraling over delayed texts, wasting energy on things far beneath their dignity. That's not strength. That's weakness disguised as passion. Because if anything can trigger you, then anything can control you. Years ago, I worked under a boss named Thomas. Brilliant man, sharp as a blade, ran a successful company, but he had no hold over his emotions. One day, an intern made a small typo in an email. Harmless, easily fixed. But Thomas flew into a rage, yelling, slamming his desk, his face turning red like a cartoon. The entire office froze, and in that moment, something shifted. No one feared him. They pitied him. His outburst didn't display strength. It revealed instability. People didn't admire his authority. They walked on eggshells around him, and slowly they stopped taking him seriously. Now compare that to another man I once met, Ethan. Same position, same pressures. One day a team member made a costly mistake. I braced myself for an explosion, but Ethan simply looked up, nodded once and said, "Fix it. Make sure it doesn't happen again." No yelling, no panic, just calm command. And that quiet authority changed the entire room. People listened. Not because they were afraid, but because they respected his control. That's when I realized, the person who loses their cool loses their influence. The one who stays calm, even under fire, earns the trust of those around them. And not just trust, respect. The kind that isn't demanded, but granted. I wasn't always like this. I used to react to everything. A harsh word? I'd snap back. A setback? I'd spiral into frustration. I thought reacting made me strong. It didn't. It made me predictable, easy to manipulate. No one took me seriously, not because I wasn't capable, but because I had no control over myself. Then I met someone who changed that. His name was Marcus, a seasoned entrepreneur with nerves of steel. One day, his company took a serious financial hit because of an employee's mistake. I expected fury. Instead, Marcus sat still, took a breath, and said, "All right, let's figure this out." That moment hit me hard. He didn't need to raise his voice. His presence alone commanded the room. Since then, I've trained myself to respond, not react. When something irritates me, I pause. Just a few seconds of silence can make the difference between saying something wise and something you regret. I stopped feeding pointless arguments. I let others waste their breath trying to provoke me while I stayed grounded. And people noticed. Conversations that once drained me became opportunities for calm control. And the respect that followed, it came without me asking for it. If you want to start mastering the skill, start simple. Pause before you speak. That tiny delay gives your mind time to choose strength over impulse. Don't waste words on people who only want to trigger you. Let them talk themselves into irrelevance. Keep your face and body calm. Tension reveals weakness, but stillness commands attention. And always ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Most of the time it doesn't. Power doesn't belong to those who fight for control. It belongs to those who already have it. So the next time the world tries to shake you, stay still, in silence, in calm, in unwavering control. That's where real respect is born. 3. Don't try to impress people, impress yourself. Most people are trapped in a quiet performance, living not for themselves, but for the fleeting approval of others. Like insecure salesmen, they're constantly pitching their image, hoping the world buys into their worth. Look at my job, my body, my car, my lifestyle, they scream in subtle ways. Beneath it all is a desperate plea. Please, validate me. But here's the paradox most people never see. The more you try to impress others, the less they respect you. Because when your self-worth depends on someone else's opinion, you're announcing something without saying a word. I don't trust myself to define my own value, and nothing dissolves respect faster than the scent of insecurity. The Stoics taught that true power is internal. You must become the judge of your own life. If your confidence can be inflated by compliments, it can just as easily be crushed by criticism. So why give that power away? Everything shifts when you stop trying to impress others and focus instead on impressing yourself. You stop chasing attention and start attracting respect. People sense when you don't need their validation, and ironically, that's when they begin offering it. When your mindset changes from, "I hope they like me," to, "I hope I like me," the entire dynamic reverses. You're no longer performing, you're living. I learned this lesson the hard way. In my early 20s, I was the textbook try hard. I'd casually name-drop achievements, humble brag in conversations, and constantly seek little moments to prove I was doing well. I thought I was building credibility, but I was actually draining my respect. People could sense the neediness behind the mask. It was exhausting and empty. Then came a shift. I was at a business event, surrounded by high achievers. I met a man named Alex, successful, well-connected, and effortlessly composed. But what stood out wasn't his success. It was how little he tried to show it. While others were subtly flexing, Alex was just present. No self-promotion, no bragging, just calm, genuine interest in others. And oddly enough, everyone gravitated toward him. Not because he demanded attention, but because he didn't. That moment hit me hard. I realized the most impressive people aren't trying to impress you. They're too focused on living a life that they respect. Trying to impress others always stems from a sense of not being enough. When you show off your wealth, people assume you're insecure about it. When you constantly talk about your success, It feels like overcompensation. Approval-seeking reveals self-doubt, and once people sense that, their respect quietly fades. Think of the people the world truly respects: elite athletes, seasoned entrepreneurs, impactful leaders. They're not running around trying to prove themselves. They're building, training, executing. They let results speak, not ego. That's the Stoic way. Act, don't announce. Ask yourself honestly, if I weren't me, would I admire me? If the answer is no, stop performing and start building. Build skills, not status. Create a life that makes you proud when no one's watching. Don't broadcast every win, just win. People respect results, not rehearsed highlights. Detach from opinions, good or bad. Because if you depend on praise, you become a prisoner to criticism. Do things because they matter to you, because they align with the kind of person you want to be, not because they look good on a resume or earn claps from the crowd. Status fades, applause dies out, but mastery, that lasts. Become undeniably skilled. Be the kind of person who doesn't need validation because they've earned self-respect through discipline, consistency, and quiet excellence. Because at the end of the day, respect isn't given to those who shout the loudest or seek it the hardest. It goes to those who've done the inner work, the ones who stopped proving and started becoming. 4. Make decisions quickly. Because hesitation kills respect. Most people think the key to earning respect lies in making the perfect decision, so they hesitate. They analyze, overanalyze, consult everyone they know, and wait for the stars to align. But here's the brutal truth. Hesitation does more damage than making the wrong choice. Nothing drains respect faster than someone who can't make up their mind. We've all felt it. The frustration of being around someone who dithers over the smallest thing. The person who takes forever to order a meal. The friend who never has a clear opinion. The leader who says, "Let me think about it," but never circles back. It's not harmless indecision. It's a signal that says, "I don't trust myself." And if you don't, no one else will either. Stoic philosophy teaches that control begins with clarity, that we cannot govern the outcome, but we can govern the choice. Hesitation doesn't just slow you down, it erodes your presence. It whispers uncertainty, and uncertainty makes people second-guess you. Confidence, more than intelligence, more than experience, is what causes people to take you seriously. Even when you're wrong, if you move with conviction, you earn more respect than someone who overthinks and freezes. I used to be the opposite of decisive. I'd second-guess every choice, ask 10 people for advice, and still sit on the fence. Then came a moment I'll never forget. I was at a professional event, and I had a rare opportunity to introduce myself to someone with serious influence. When he asked me, "So what do you do?" I froze. I stumbled over my words, tried to explain too much, and watched his eyes glaze over. He didn't walk away because of what I said, but because of how I said it. I didn't sound certain, and that made me forgettable. That was a turning point. I realized that if I didn't sound convinced of my own value, why would anyone else be? From that moment, I trained myself to decide faster, speak with certainty, and stop trying to be perfect. The shift was instant, more clarity, more confidence, and a lot more respect from the people around me. Here's what most people don't understand. No decision is ever perfect. The idea that you'll one day find the flawless option is an illusion. Life is filled with uncertainty, and waiting too long often costs more than making a slightly flawed move. In most situations, a solid decision made quickly is far better than the perfect one that never comes. The Stoics taught us to act with purpose, not perfection. If you're overwhelmed, narrow your choices to 2 options and pick one. Set a time limit. Give yourself 60 seconds to decide. And when the timer ends, commit. Don't look back. Don't second guess. Own it. Indecisiveness is exhausting to witness, and nothing undermines your authority like doubting your own call after making it. People follow action takers. They trust those who move first, not because they're always right, but because they're willing to lead. Respect gravitates toward motion. The world won't wait for you to decide, and neither will opportunity. So the next time you're stuck in hesitation, remind yourself, overthinking is the enemy of respect. Doubt delays your life. Make a decision, stand behind it, and move forward with the kind of presence that makes people take notice, not because you're loud, but because you're clear. In the end, people don't follow the person who knows everything. They follow the one who knows what to do next. 5. Know when to walk away. Most people never think about it, but in every conversation, there's an invisible dynamic at play. The one who ends the conversation first holds the power. It's subtle, almost unspoken, but it shifts the energy. The person who decides when it's over silently communicates that their time is valuable, their presence intentional, and their attention limited. And that alone commands respect. But what do most people do? They linger. They hang on, hoping the other person is still engaged. They wait to be dismissed, hoping to stay in the moment just a little longer. And in doing so, they give away their frame. They overstay, and the energy dies. What could have been a powerful, memorable interaction fades into awkward silence or forced small talk. And nothing signals low status more than someone who doesn't know when to walk away. Think of the people you've respected the most. Did they ramble? Did they seem desperate to hold your attention? Number. They spoke with purpose, ended strong, and moved on with confidence. That's what made them magnetic. When someone walks away first, not because they're disinterested, but because they know when enough is enough, they leave a lasting impression. They leave behind a sense of curiosity, of mystery, of presence. I used to get this completely wrong. I'd talk until the moment felt stale, trying to be liked, trying to squeeze out more connection. I thought staying longer meant building rapport, but slowly I started observing the people I admired. Executives, mentors, people who owned the room. And they always did one thing differently. They ended the conversation first. Smooth, confident, and intentional. A quick, "Great talking to you. Let's reconnect soon." And they were gone. Not rushed, not rude, just clear and self-assured. And it worked. Every time. There's a Stoic lesson here. Respect your own time. Be intentional with your energy. Don't give more than what's needed to make the moment meaningful. When you cut the conversation at its peak, you let it end with strength. People remember how you made them feel, and if they feel like they didn't get quite enough of you, that's exactly the point. Master this by using a clean, calm exit. Don't overthink it. "All right, I've got to run. Good catching up," is more than enough. Say it with warmth, not apology. Then walk away. Confidently. This applies everywhere. Business meetings, casual chats, even disagreements. The person who ends it first often feels like the one in control. Not emotionally reactive, just certain of their time and boundaries. So stop waiting for others to excuse you from the room. Own your exit. Because in a world where everyone is trying to hold on, the one who knows when to leave stands out. And that kind of clarity, that's what earns respect. 6. The power of saying less. Silence isn't emptiness, it's presence. And in a noisy world, nothing commands more respect than a person who knows when not to speak. But most people fear silence. They treat it like a void they must fill, as if a pause in conversation is a threat to their value. So, they rush to explain, to clarify, to justify. They overtalk, they overcompensate. And without realizing it, they begin to sound insecure, even weak. The truth is simple. The most powerful people in the room are rarely the ones saying the most. They're the ones who choose their words carefully, speak only when it matters, and carry themselves with quiet authority. Their silence isn't awkward, it's intentional, and that's why people lean in when they finally speak. I wasn't always like this. I used to fear silence. If there was a pause in a conversation, I'd feel this urge to fill it, to say something, anything, just to keep the energy going. I thought silence made me look unsure or uninteresting, until one day I was in a meeting with someone I deeply respected. Let's call him Adrian. Mid-conversation, someone asked him a tough question. He didn't answer right away. He just sat there, calm, still, thinking. The room went silent, but instead of feeling tense, everyone leaned in, and when he finally spoke, every word landed with weight. That moment hit me hard. He wasn't performing. He was owning the silence. Since then, I've learned that silence is a form of power. It makes your words more meaningful. It gives you presence. It shows you're not desperate to be understood. You're confident enough to let your words stand on their own. The more I embraced silence, the more respect I earned. People started listening more attentively. Conversations became more intentional. I stopped feeling the need to prove myself with every sentence. The Stoics would say, "Don't speak unless you can improve the silence." That's a powerful standard, because when you stop fearing silence, you stop fearing being misunderstood. You stop chasing validation, and you start leading with stillness. That's the difference between noise and influence. If you want to practice this, start small. When someone asks you a question, pause, wait 2 or 3 seconds, think, then speak with purpose. Resist the urge to over-explain. Say what you mean, then stop. Let your words echo. In arguments or confrontations, say less. Use silence as your shield. It will make others uncomfortable, but that discomfort earns you space, attention, and control. Look around you. The people who talk the most are rarely the ones taken seriously, but the ones who speak less, with more intention, they're the ones others remember. Because in the end, true confidence doesn't need to shout. It knows its worth. And when you own your silence, the world listens. You'll never need to fight for attention again, because real power doesn't ask to be heard. It makes people want to listen. In the end, respect isn't something you're given. It's something you build through presence, discipline, and how you carry yourself even when no one's watching. If just one of these small shifts resonated with you, don't just think about it, live it. You'll feel the difference. People will respond differently, and more importantly, you'll start respecting yourself more, because that's where it all begins. If you're drawn to ideas like this, stoicism, self-mastery, and timeless strategies for leveling up your mindset, check out my free Sunday newsletter. Every week, I share thought-provoking insights and tools to help you move through life with clarity and strength. The link's below. If you got value from this video, feel free to like and subscribe. It helps more than you think. And here's your turn. Comment, respect starts within. If you're ready to apply these lessons today. Until next time, move with purpose, own your presence, And remember, small changes, practiced daily, can earn you the kind of respect that lasts a lifetime. We've only just begun.